Sa gitna ng panawagang suspindihin ang train law, iginiit ng Malacanang na hindi ito maaaring gawin ng Pangulo dahil kailangan pa ng panibagong batas para rito.
Good morning, Luis Balita. Today, we take a closer look at something that impacts every working citizen and fuels our government's ability to function: taxation. It's a concept as old as civilization itself, but its role in modern life is more crucial than ever.
To learn how taxation started and why it still matters today, here's Giselle Rabanal with the story.
Thanks, Maria. Taxation isn't just a government tool. It's a foundational part of how societies function. Though we can't trace its exact origin, taxation began as a necessity that revenues for the government so that it can provide public goods and services. This evolved into a formal legal system where taxes were based on a person's ability to pay efficiency, convenience, certainty, and fairness to impose financial on what the individual pays and the benefit of subsequently receiving from the government activities. But where does that power come from? It comes both inherently and legislatively. Taxation is inherent because it's a natural right of any sovereign government. It generates the funds for the state to finance the needs of the citizens and to advocate the commonwealth. And there are people in our country who are exempted from paying tax. Those are on minimum wage, salaries, or no income. The nature of taxation power refers to 5 fundamental characteristics on how it operates within a legal and constitutional framework. First, inherent and sovereign power of the state even without constitutional grant. A government naturally has the authority to impose taxes to raise revenue for public purposes. Second, legislative in nature. They were the one that created the tax law and had the power to levy the taxes. They also ensured that the taxes were imposed by the people's representative under the law and with clarity and fairness that guards against the abuse of taxation by requiring a democratic authorization and legal precision. Third, subject to constitutional and legal limits. Although taxation is a broad power, it is not absolute. It must comply with a due process, equal protection, uniformity and equity, and lastly, non-delegation of taxing power. Fourth, primarily for public purposes. Taxes must be imposed for a public purpose, not for personal and private interests. It is collected to support government services and infrastructure that benefit societies. Fifth, instrument of policy. Taxation was used to influence economic behavior like encouraging investment through tax incentives or discouraging harmful activities or sin taxes. So while we may grumble on tax day, taxation is more than a bill. It's a symbol of governance, policy, and public service in action. I'm Giselle Ashley Benavides Rabanal. Back to you, Maria.
Thanks, Ashley, for clearly explaining what taxation is and where the government's authority comes from.
Now that we understand the nature of taxation as both inherent and legislative, the next question is, why does the government actually impose taxes? And what legal grounds support that action? For a closer look at that purpose and basis of taxation, let's go to Karil Songko, who joins us with the details.
Thanks, Michaela. While taxation may seem like a routine obligation, its role in society goes much deeper. The purpose of taxation is to generate funds to support the state to finance the needs of the citizens and to advance the Commonwealth, like maintaining infrastructure, delivering education and healthcare, and ensuring public safety. Simply, the taxes help to create the conditions for a stable, functioning society. Taxes also serve wider economic goals. It can help stabilize prices, encourage or protect local industries, promote foreign trade, and redirect capital into areas that need development. Here are the key dimensions to consider on taxation. First, accountability and transparency. Tax reporting is a system that requires individuals and businesses to disclose their financial activities, ensuring fair contributions to public goods and services. Second, economic regulation and redistribution. Taxation promotes equity and economic regulation by promoting wealth redistribution and reducing income inequality, thereby ensuring social stability. Third, civic responsibility. Accurate tax reporting is a citizen's responsibility to contribute to society, demonstrating ethical behavior and civic management. Fourth, data for policy making. Tax reporting is crucial for governments to gather precise economic data, which is then used to inform public policy, budgets, and development strategies. Fifth, trust in institutions. Transparent tax reporting fosters trust between citizens, businesses, and the state. It builds confidence in public institutions when people see fair enforcement and responsible use of tax revenue. This makes taxation a key tool of fiscal policy, allowing the government to influence national economic direction. Now, where does the power to tax come from? The basis of taxation lies in the necessity of government itself. A state cannot exist without resources, and therefore the power to tax is considered inherent, a natural part of sovereignty. Still, this power is not unlimited. It comes with important inherent limitations. First, taxes must be for a public purpose only. Second, applies only within the state's territorial jurisdiction. Third, double taxation should be avoided. Fourth, taxing power cannot be freely delegated, though local governments may be authorized. Fifth, government agencies are usually tax-exempt unless they operate for profit. Here is a breakdown of the elements in the basis of taxation. First, tax jurisdiction. Specify the countries or regions where the entity is subject to tax. Clarify taxation is based on residency and source of income. Second, type of taxes. Identify whether the taxes are on income, sales, value added, capital gains, property, and many more. We also have current tax, which is the amount of income tax payable on the current period that is based on taxable per tax law. Deferred tax, which affects the temporary difference between accounting income and taxable income. Third, tax rate applied. State the applicable statutory tax rates. Effective tax rates deviate significantly from the statutory rate, providing reconciliations and explanations. Fourth, deferred tax. Recognize future period when temporary differences reverse. Provide details on deferred tax assets and liabilities and how they are expected to reverse. Fifth, tax incentives or holidays. Disclose any tax exemptions, holidays, or credits received and their financial impact. Sixth, transfer pricing and intercompany transactions. This highlights how taxes are impacted by intragroup transactions. Discuss compliance with transfer pricing regulations. Seventh, uncertain tax positions. Disclose positions taken in tax filings that are subject to judgment or dispute. And lastly, tax risk and exposure. Describe potential exposures to tax audits or changes in tax laws. Provide clarity on contingent tax liabilities, if any. So, while no one likes paying taxes, they are vital to keeping our government running and our economy moving. I'm Karil Sangko, back in the studio.
Wow, buko!
Bagong biyak na buko, ang sarap nito, Nesfruta buko, why not?
Coconut,
Buko masarap, made with real fruit juice, Nesfruta buko, why not? Coconut, buko masustansya, rich in vitamin C, Nesfruta buko, why not? Coconut, no artificial color, real na real, kitang real, lasang real na buko, Nesfruta buko, real na real ito. Also available in mangosteen.
Thank you, Karil, for that insightful explanation of the purpose and basis of taxation. As you mentioned, taxes are not just about raising funds, they're also essential tools for economic policy, stabilizing the economy, and ensuring the government can fulfill its responsibilities to society.
Now, let's look at the basic principles of taxation and the powers behind them. What gives the government the right to collect taxes and how is that power used? Cruzel Anacta explains.
Thanks, Maria. And these are the basic principles of taxation. There are fundamental guidelines to help the government to ensure taxes are fair and effective. First is ability to pay principle. People should be taxed based on their capacity to pay. Those who earn more should contribute more to support public services. Second is benefit principle. Individuals should pay taxes in proportion to the benefits they receive from the government services. Example, fuel taxes funding road maintenance. Third is equity or fairness. Taxation should be fair. These include horizontal equity. These are the people with the same ability to pay should pay the same tax. Vertical equity, those with greater ability should pay more. Fourth is efficiency. A tax system should not distort economic decision or create large losses in productivity. Fifth is simplicity. Taxes should be easy to understand and administer, reducing confusion and cost for both taxpayers and the government. Sixth is certainty. Tax rules should be clear. Taxpayers should know how much to pay, when, and how. And the last one is the convenience. The method of timing of tax collection should be convenient to taxpayers. Now, the inherent powers of the government include: it refers to power that belongs to a sovereign state, even if they are not explicitly stated in the Constitution. These powers are not derived from the Constitution. They are essential to very extensions, and without power to tax, a government cannot function, provide public services, enforce laws, or defend the country. First is power of taxation. This power allows the government to raise revenue needed for infrastructure, education, healthcare, defense, and other services that benefit society. Second is power of eminent domain. This is essential for building roads, schools, parks, and other facilities that serve the public interest. Third is police power, the authority to create and enforce laws that protect the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people. In essence, taxes are necessary contribution to keep the government running and supporting the public needs. I am Cruzel Anacta, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Cruzel. That gave us a clearer picture of how taxes are applied and enforced. Stay with us for more updates.
Let's take a closer look at the essential characteristics of taxes and their classification. For that, we turn to Cara Coquilla.
Thanks, Mikaela. When we talk about taxes, it's important to understand what exactly makes something a tax that funds the government expenditures to deliver essential public services. Here are the essential characteristics. 1. Legality and authority. Taxes must be authorized by law and imposed by a legitimate government authority. Clearly cite the legal basis for each tax reported. 2. Compulsory nature. Tax payments are not optional. Individuals and entities are legally obligated to pay. Taxes must be separated from voluntary contributions or donations in financial statements. 3. No direct benefit. The taxpayer does not receive a direct or equivalent return or services for the tax paid. Do not classify taxes as exchange transactions. They are non-reciprocal. 6. Regularity. Taxes are usually collected on a recurring basis, reflect the correct reporting period, and recognize tax obligations in the right fiscal year. 7. Can be direct or indirect. Categorize taxes properly for analysis and financial disclosure, especially in accounting and public finance reports. Direct taxes levied on income or wealth. Indirect taxes applied to goods or services. 8. Non-penal. Taxes are not meant to punish, although non-compliance may result in penalties, tax liabilities from fines, interest, or penalties in reports. 9. Revenue source. Taxes are a primary source of government revenue taxes. as a major line item in government or organizational income statements. Now, how are taxes categorized? They're classified in several ways. 1. By purpose. Some raise funds while others regulate behavior. 2. By object, like poll taxes on individuals, property taxes, or excise taxes on activities. 3. By subject, we have direct taxes like income tax and indirect taxes such as VAT. 4. By amount, taxes can be specific, a fixed amount, or ad valorem based on value. 5. Authority, either national or local governments, impose them. And 6. And by rate, they can be proportional, progressive, or regressive depending on how they scale with income or value. Understanding this classification helps us grasp how taxes affect not just individuals but the entire economy. I'm Cara Coquilla, Uwis Balita.
Thanks, Cara, for that comprehensive look at the essential characteristics and classification of taxes.
Up next, we'll see how some people and organizations try to lower or avoid taxes, legally or not. We'll also look at how local governments from cities to barangays collect taxes. Kurt Pacursa has the details.
POV, you're trying to dodge taxes like it's an epic game, but gotta play it smart. Here's the T. We got some legit escapes for taxes. Some are wholesome, some not so much. First up, we got shifting, where sellers hike up prices to make us pay their tax bills. Then you got capitalization, where they drop property prices thinking ahead about those future taxes. Now, transformation is the glow-up strategy. Businesses level up their efficiency to eat those tax costs without breaking a sweat. But beware of evasion, fam. That's illegal, and nobody wants to get caught in that trap. On the legal side, we have avoidance, ACA using loopholes, cause who doesn't love saving some coin? And exemptions, those are like free passes.
Let's talk local taxation. Local government units or LGUs like cities and barangays can collect their own taxes. But this power comes from the law and must follow the Constitution. Taxes collected must be used for public services. This is guided by the Local Government Code of 1991. National tax laws like the Tax Reform Act of 1997 and the Train Law set rules for both national and local systems. The Bureau of Internal Revenue collects national taxes. Local taxes are handled by local treasurer's offices. Whether it's a barangay fee or income tax, all taxes help fund our government and services. I'm Kurt Pacursa reporting on tax escapes and local taxation. Back to you in the studio.
Hi, what's up mga par? Ako to si Jejer King. Binebenta ko. Eto, check this shit. Lalagay natin to. Oh, wala! 1 plus 1 equals 2. Itong sibuyas, parang ex mo. Ngayon, gawin natin parang ganito. First, kulong natin siya. Tapos, you dead. Pagod na ako. Kaya bumili ka na nito. Sa dami kong sinabi, pag di ka pa rin bumili, for only $19.95. But wait, there's more. May libre grade ka. For free. Bay, lay, na kayo.
That concludes our segment on the forms of escape from taxation and local taxation, offering a clear understanding of how tax systems operate and the various approaches individuals and institutions take in response to them.
In recent years, major reforms have also been introduced to make our tax system fairer and more efficient. One of the most significant changes came with the passage of the Train Law, Republic Act No. 10962. To walk us through the key features of this landmark legislation and how it affects both taxpayers and the government's revenue collection, here's Maria Cecilia Ofalsa for the report.
Train law is a taxation that refers tax reform for acceleration and inclusive law. which is the first package of the Philippine Comprehensive Tax Reform Program. Way back December 19, 2017, former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte signed the Train Law under Republic Act No. 1096-3. The law, a National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 that took effect last January 1, 2018, marking as the start of the major tax reform initiative that aimed to simplify and improve the tax system. One of the key provisions is the adjustment in the income tax bracket from 2018 to 2022. Persons within the minimum wage salaries are fully exempted from income tax, including their holidays, overtime, and hazard pay. The purpose of the Train Law is to make the tax system more fair, simpler, and more efficient, lower the personal income taxes for Filipino workers, raising the revenues for the government's infrastructure, education, and social services programs.
The key features of the Train Law. First is the personal income tax reform. These lower tax rates are for individuals that earn below 8 million to 250,000 or less annually. Second is increased excise taxes. These taxes is for products like petroleum products, sugar-sweetened beverages, tobacco, alcohol, and automobiles. Third is the value-added tax reform, or most known as VAT. This VAT expands by removing some exemptions. Recently, President Bongbong Marcos signed a new VAT for digital service law. The 12% VAT will be charged in every games or apps that will be purchased in the Philippines. This will be implemented on June 2025. Fourth is the estate and donors tax. This was unified and lower rate to 6% for both estate and donors tax. Fifth is the tax passive income, adjustment to rates of a capital gain, interest income, and dividends. Sixth is the financial report for business and accounts. This updates the adjustments of the payroll system for new tax computation. Seventh is the government revenue report. These are the BRR collection of the tax before and after the Train Law implementation. 8. Socio-economic impact. This shows the effect of the Train Law to the consumer's price, purchase of the power, and the poverty level.
These changes aims to reduce the tax burden on low and middle earners, while raising the funds for infrastructure and social services. Complaints in the implementation issue were highlighted during the transition to the taxpayer and businesses. Please note that the BIR regulations and issuance implemented the Train Law under RR number 8 2018. And that's all for today.
Thank you, Maria Cecilia Ofalsa, for that detailed breakdown of the Train Law and its far-reaching effects. The adjustments in income tax, VAT thresholds, and exemptions are a clear move towards easing the burden on taxpayers while ensuring vital government and services continue.
That's all for today's coverage on taxation. We hope this gives you a better understanding of how taxes impact not just your paycheck but the nation as a whole.
Stay tuned as we continue to bring you the latest on the issues that matter most. I'm Mikaela Gabin.
And I'm Maria Angela Rose Garcia. Thank you for watching Buwis Balita and have a great day ahead.